Welcome to your 20-minute podcast with David Brower, where we do our best to give you useful information in 20 minutes or less. Now, here's your host, 5-time Voice Arts Awards nominee, David Brower.
Thanks, Ellen. This is David Brower with your 20-minute podcast. Our special guest from Tawasin, British Columbia, just outside Vancouver, is Bill Clum. And Bill and his wife, Patricia, have just a wonderful thing called Evolution of the Heart. And, rather than trying to describe it, I'm just going to get into it with you, Bill. I do have a quote from you. You develop emotional muscle in order to rise. It takes work to develop emotional muscle, and this is the inner work of the soul. That's a quote from Bill Clum. Welcome to the show. Glad you're here.
Thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here, and I'm just open to any questions or anything you want me to address. I can.
So, how did you and Patricia get into this kind of discovery?
Well, I've always been on my path many years back, and I was single at the time, and I met Patricia in San Diego through another Canadian friend that's from Vancouver, and we just kind of started from there. And I was just attracted to her the second day I met her. I said,
wow.
I want you. You know how when there's an opportunity, it's your opportunity to say something, and
yes,
I just couldn't let her get past me, so I let her know that I was interested in her. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife and I had a similar experience. She knew in 3 days that she wanted to marry me. It took me 7, so I think it's a guy thing. I'm not sure.
It is. It is.
So tell me about your journey. And I mean, it says here, I know the importance of surrendering to the opening of my own heart and embracing the brightness of the light within. And folks, when you go to their website, evolutionoftheheart.com, click on the video there. You'll see some fascinating testimonials about what Bill and Patricia do. But so, Bill, give me a little insight to where you've been, where you are, where you want to go.
Well, the main thing is that for me, the biggest transition for me was getting out of my mind, the ego mind, and all the stuff that comes with it, the arrogance, the not enoughness, all the protection that the mind has around it to open. And when I finally discovered that through all the different work I did, I started transitioning into my heart and started feeling that more and more. It came through the emotional body. It wasn't anything to figure out. And I just feel like I grew as I grew, and I was able to face whatever was put in front of me.
Wow.
And go through it. I felt the emotional body is what I feel is the fuel of awakening.
That makes sense, because our mind kind of traps us, doesn't it?
It is a trap. It's like the mind is like a den of thieves in an empty house. It's just waiting for something to devour, and it's really uncomfortable with the unknown.
Absolutely.
I feel the unknown.
Well, the unknown, I think, no matter where we are in life or what we have going on, the unknown is always terrifying to most of us for some reason. And I think it's just because it's the unknown. If it's something that we can wrap our head around, our hands around, our heart around, even our head around, if you will, then all of a sudden, oh, okay, well, let's do that. You know, whether it's an illness or whatever it is, the unknown can be just terrifying. And that's another head thing, right? More than a heart?
Yes, because the ego is so afraid of it because it's not predictable. What is predictable is the pain and suffering. So it's actually more comfortable there because it's familiar.
Sure. And we are drawn to what is familiar. It's always easier to fall back to a so-called comfort zone, even if it's the absolute worst place that we need to go. And you help people come out of that place, right?
Yes, we do. And it still amazes me how it happens. I mean, we just hold the space. I feel we do 5% of the work, and we do our work very well. And then I feel divine spirit, God, you don't mind the name.
Of course. I'm all about
does
God.
The rest of the work. And I just recognize the power of that. And it really takes the burden off me to have to prove anything or convince anyone, because that alone is convincing when people feel that movement within themselves.
No question. How do you introduce that? Somebody reaches out to you, be it a one-on-one session, be it one of your retreats. How do you reach out to somebody who is so troubled that they don't even know what they don't know about the dark place that they're in?
Well, it usually comes by referral from our work.
Mm-hmm.
Our clients, of course, are our best advertisement. When they have results, they'll go out and tell others.
You bet.
And when people have done everything else and nothing else is working, they tend to gravitate towards us.
Well, I understand that. I mean, because,
Yeah.
in our society, and not to minimize it, but we are going 100 miles an hour. We are into immediate gratification. I don't have time to have lunch with my best friend, that kind of crap, for lack of a better term. And so, yeah, I get that because we want the quick fix. We want the silver bullet. And when none of those show up, well, guess what? Here's Bill and Patricia. Okay, I'll try Bill and Patricia.
Well, the thing is, I found out when I was going through my own dark night of the soul that my mentor, I called him and I was hoping he had a silver bullet. He told me the truth. He says, Bill, if there was one, I'd give it to you, but there isn't one. You have to go through this.
Yeah.
And I was just terrified. I mean, I was so scared. And it took everything for me within myself is where I began to discover, I feel faith is born, compassion is born.
Yeah.
In those dark nights.
Agreed.
And what we do is start inviting and calling the light into that darkness, and we begin to awaken.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And to me, God is the dark, and God is the light, and Satan is the dark. And to me personally, it's as complicated as that is. It's as simple as that is.
Well, I think the simpleness of it all for me is one of our first things that we teach. Is we just ask, how deep is your yes?
Nice.
To God.
Nice.
And in that, when it comes from the heart of a person, it's heard throughout her whole universe and invites all the resources of divinity in to come support us in our becoming, who our authentic self.
Yep.
Or that higher version of self.
Yep. Wow. Forgive me, I'm having goosebumps right now, so we'll continue here in a second. But I couldn't agree with you more. And it's fascinating. How long have you and Patricia been doing this full time?
10 years. We didn't know we would be doing this together. When I met her, I said, my life's about God. And if that's not what you're about, I don't know if it's going to work for us. And she said, well, I have news for you. It's about God for me too.
Nice.
And so we just committed to each other whenever we felt we weren't going in the same path that we would let go. And yet, we've been on the same path, and little did we know this is what we were doing. I mean, it's not anything I ever thought of.
Right.
It just kind of organically opened.
Wow. Yeah, that whole let go, let God thing is pretty fascinating. When I met my wife, I met her online, and I was looking for a date for Jimmy Buffett, and she was the first one that said yes. So
wow.
we went out to dinner, and then we went to the concert the next night. And I mean, we just really, really enjoyed each other's company. And after about a week, she says, if you want to know more about me, you might want to come to my church. And I'm going, but I don't have a suit. And she laughed and she said, how long has it been since you've been to church? I said, 35 years. And
wow.
She says, you don't need a suit. So she was smart enough to take me to a less attended Saturday night service, sit in the back where it's nice and quiet and easy. And next thing you know, we're baptized, we're married, God's the head of our table. I mean, holy buckets. And that was 16 years ago, and a life-changing experience that I had no awareness that was possible. So I have a small sense of what you and Patricia have done. It's fabulous when you are touched in such a special way. It's quite remarkable.
Well, it's God. I mean, what else could it be?
Yeah, that's right.
We're right behind you. We'll be coming up on 14 years in March of next year, so we're just a couple of years behind you.
There you go. So some of the things, it says Bill's credentials: professional intuitive, energetic alchemy practitioner, universal ministries, spiritual minister, accelerated school for entrepreneurs, end-of-life guide certification, 2 words I can't pronounce, Chikara Reiki Do master. I'm not even sure that was even remotely close.
That's close enough.
So you're not only doing the work with Patricia, but you're obviously quite a student and trying to learn more and more and more ways to help people through life and to get a better place in life, right?
Well, that's true. It's just interesting the people that God brings to us. And,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when I look in the room, I'm saying, God, this whole room, this is impossible.
Right.
And so I hand the impossible to God
Yeah.
and it gets done. And because that's not my specialty is the impossible. I have the faith to sit with the energy of what may happen. We had a PTSD veteran heal.
Mm-hmm.
That was really incredible.
Wow.
And 6 of his friends had committed suicide and he was on the edge. And I said, God, what do you want me to do with this man? I don't know what to tell him. I've never faced this before. And I just
Sure.
heard, put your hand over his heart and tell him everything's possible and take a deep breath and let him know the light's going to come in and you don't know what's going to happen. And experience is my experience in meeting God. He met God in that moment.
Wow.
And we had to lay him down on the couch and he went back to his innocence.
Oh my
And we have to
God.
see the fact that we're all innocent somewhere.
Somewhere.
And
Yeah.
it's just amazing. He's completely free of all the stress of, what happens
Yeah.
in Afghanistan.
Wow.
He made it through. He was one of the survivors that found his way. He found his own light.
Wow. That's goosebumps number 2. That's wow. That is fabulous. I love stories like that. And here in the States, there's 22 veterans who commit suicide every single day. So that's in the last 5 years, that's over 40,000 vets who have committed suicide here just in the States. And I know there's probably comparable numbers in Canada. But so for you to be able to reach out and be able to introduce this man to God and have God have such an impact on him, all of a sudden he not only becomes a word of mouth person for you, but I'm sure he's sharing the gospel, right?
In his own way, yes.
It would be in his own way, you bet.
He, yeah. It comes from his deepest heart, the truth of God that he's realized for himself.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. I feel like I introduce God and then God does the rest.
And that's the way it should be, right?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm just, all right, goosebumps number 3. So you have individual sessions, you have retreats coming up both in the States and Canada. How do those work, the individual sessions and the retreats? I went to a retreat a few months ago at a monastery here in Colorado. There were 12 of us, and oh my God, it was life-changing. And so retreats are just, and that's my first one. I'll never forget it, and I hope to do another one. But so how do your retreats work? How do your individual sessions work?
Well, people call us and they make an appointment through our website. And then me and my wife set it up just like you through Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we do is we usually do a meditation. We invite God to come in, Spirit to come in, divine intelligence, because we work with people of all different faiths.
Yeah.
And we know that people can feel their hearts. Everybody can feel their heart. Even people who say, I don't believe in God,
Yes.
It doesn't shake me. I says, well, the one thing, if you don't believe in God, at least you can feel your heart. So let's see what's there. We invite people to begin to feel that through a meditation, grounding, and inviting. And then this energy just comes in and we keep pointing people back to their hearts. And I really believe that's the infinite space of our being.
Mm-hmm.
In a busy world, the mind wants us to continue to rush,
Right.
as if there was actually somewhere to go. And yet,
well said.
in the moment that you were in the monastery, it was a slowing down for you.
Oh my God.
And it was probably uncomfortable for a while until you settled in.
Yeah.
And so when we sit with that and then God touches you, it resets your whole nervous system.
Well, and
that's the beauty of it.
That is the beauty of it. And the other thing that was amazing to me was we not only had to disconnect from all electronics, which I didn't have a problem with, but we had to be literally quiet for 2 days. And so
that's a hard one.
Right? And so you are
Yes.
either reading, you are walking, you are in nature, you are drawing, you are doing whatever it is, but you're doing it by yourself and you're not speaking aloud. except at dinner in the evening. And that was like the hardest yet the easiest thing I think I've ever done. It caught me so much by surprise how much I enjoyed that. And I came home from the retreat. I didn't read a newspaper for over a week. I didn't watch the nightly news for 2 weeks. I get up in the morning and read my Bible every day now, and it was just life-changing. And so I get it, man. If you can reach people's hearts either in a retreat or in an individual session, that's where the changes come, right?
Well, I think when there's a willingness, just in that moment, your willingness to slow down and investigate, the curiosity is where we become present. And just in that split second that we're present with ourselves,
yeah,
God is right there meeting us, being present with us.
Absolutely.
And I love that because I just know willingness, surrender, and that deep yes really are the key ingredients for really coming to know yourself, coming to know God. And it just keeps growing. That's the excitement about it.
And that was the biggest thing that I was concerned about, was being present. That lasted about 20 minutes.
well, presence takes time, It doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice.
Oh my gosh. So how do, they can go to your website, evolutionoftheheart.com, and check out the retreats. And also, let's talk about you've got couples sessions, individual sessions, all kinds of opportunities depending on where people are in their life, right?
Yes. And, we just work with it, whatever God sets in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a 13-year-old girl that I worked with recently. And she was, I don't know if this would be aired. I wouldn't want her to hear this, but it could be randomly any teenage girl.
Absolutely, yeah.
Going through divorce and then witnessing her father with another woman. And she calls me Uncle Bill. I kind of filled in a little bit.
Sure.
And I said, sweetie, I'm so sorry you had to see that, because your mother is so beautiful. And boom, she just started crying because she felt heard.
Wow.
People have to let the pain out, and know they're okay.
Yeah.
Pain is inevitable. Suffering is an option.
Well said.
Yeah.
And if somebody feels like that young lady, if somebody feels heard, at the end of the day, isn't that what we all really want? We want to be heard, and we want to be genuinely heard. And so your authenticity, integrity, life experience, credibility, all that comes through in a heartbeat with somebody like that young girl, I would imagine.
Yeah. And that was just an example that popped in, but there are just so many other places where the moment, just like even forgiveness, it's so hard to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And yet the moment we forgive, it's not justifying what happened.
Correct.
But it's just that movement in our hearts saying yes to God and the forgiveness is where the miracle actually occurs. No miracles.
No question. Could not agree more.
No. Yeah.
So we're just about out of time. I want to make sure people get in touch with you. Evolutionoftheheart.com. You can go right there, book a free 20-minute session. I would sign up with that in a heartbeat. Explore their upcoming retreats. Talk to Bill, visit with Bill and Patricia about their packages, individual sessions. Check out their blog. If you just go to the homepage and click on the video there with the flower, and you'll hear and see, and more importantly, feel the success that these people have had with Bill and Patricia, because, you can sense in those short few seconds that their hearts have really been touched, man. It's a blessing what you do.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dave, for inviting us. It's a real honor to all of you who are out there. May God bless you and bring you to your deepest desires so that you can fall in love with God.
Amen. Amen.
Yes. Amen.
Listen to Your 20-Minute Podcast with David Brower on the go. Downloads are available on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, any podcast app, and on our website at davidbrowervo.com/Your 20-Minute Podcast. Until next time, thank you for listening.